and this is speaking for the club, we are honored to be a part of this service. So thank you very much for making us a part of it today. Ray and I knew each other for, I'd say, about 10, 11 years as members of the Jet Steppers. Ray actually predated me by about 10 years. He was a member of the club for 20, and he may have danced before that, for all I know. But we were friends and fellow dancers long enough for me to get to know him, I think, fairly well. Although maybe not as well as some who are here. And so some things jump out at me that I'd like to share with you from my own association with Ray. And he was a great guy. I'm really going to miss him. And I know I speak for everybody in the club when I say that. First thing is, Ray liked to dress up. I don't have to tell you, because you can see it in the pictures. But he didn't just confine his dressing up to Christmas. Now, I remember that he wore a special hat on St. Patrick's Day. Why do I remember that? Because my name's Murphy and I'm Irish, and that's St. Patrick's Day maybe as important as Christmas. Not quite. Not really. He loved to do that, and he had, of course, the Christmas outfits. And I understand that he had in front of his house a statue of a sailor. I didn't know that. And something else I didn't know, Christmas time, he'd go out and dress that sailor up, dress the sailor up in a Santa Claus outfit. So Ray loved it. Second thing about Ray, he loved to talk about his Navy experiences. And I gained a lot of respect for Ray and for sailors in general, just listening to those stories. Ray was in the Navy, which is not a particularly easy service to get into to begin with. He was in submarine service, which I think is a step up, and he was in the nuclear submarine service, which is a further step. So to get where Ray was, you couldn't be it took some effort, some smarts, and some personal initiative and drive to get there. He spent 20 years there. The story I remember best, 3 months on a cruise submerged. I don't know how he did it. I don't know how anybody could do it. 3 hours in a boat with no windows. I would have been talking to myself, and who knows what would have happened after that. 3 months. But this is what submariners did. It was not an easy service to be in. 20 years of that, and you're ready to retire. So Ray used to tell the stories, and I loved listening, frankly. I never got tired of it. Third thing about Ray was he was a good dancer. Now, in the years I knew him, he was a widower. I think when he started with the club, he and his wife came together, and then she passed away. Ray continued to come. When I met him, he was a widower. What's interesting about that is a couple of things. Ray was a good dancer. Men typically are not good dancers. Men don't particularly like to dance, and they only dance because their wives make them. Okay? And the consequences of not doing what your wife tells you are worse than dancing, although sometimes it's close. So, but Ray kept on coming, and he danced well. Second thing about that is that he mixed well also. In order for you to, if you're a male alone and you're dancing, and you go over to some woman and you want to dance with her, she's not necessarily going to get up just because you're there asking her to. You're going to have to pass muster. You're going to have to be able to dance, and you're going to have to be kind of congenial at the same time. Otherwise, it's a no-go. Ray never had any trouble that I could see. Anyway, unusual, really, because when you think about it, you're in a group where almost everybody has a spouse. There are a few women who are widows, but you're the only widower, the only man there without a partner, or maybe one of two. So you're in a small crowd, and speaking from personal experience, most men don't do well under those circumstances. Ray made it work. It was very unusual, I thought, and very striking to me. And he was a good dancer, good enough that he taught. When we had classes start in September, Ray was there as one of the angels. Well, maybe there as one of the angels, but I'm talking about angels down here. Angels are teachers, experienced dancers who teach new dancers. Ray was one of the angels. And he was an angel in a lot of other ways, too, for the club. And then finally, Ray was a worker. Didn't matter what it was, where it was, when it was, Ray would be there. He served as club president for the Jet Steppers for a year. And then he served, I didn't even know this, because Ray always operated kind of under the radar. He's working, but he doesn't make a big show of it. He just does it. He served 5 years, I think. Tell me, Dick. 5 years as president of the council. Now, the hierarchy is you have clubs. Clubs are part of councils. Councils are part of the state federation. So to be a council president would be a step up from being a club president. He did that for 5 years. A lot of work. He was always there for our caravans. Every year we had a caravan lasting all day and into the night, where the club got together and we drove caravan style to an undisclosed destination where we would dance. Usually it was with another club somewhere out of our immediate area. And while we were doing that, we were trying to solve a mystery written usually by two ladies who are here, Carrie Stook and Linda Robinson. Linda Ledbetter, excuse me, I'm sorry. It gets into your head and you can't get it out. And so Ray was always there, and he was usually part of the action in some way, part of making it go. If we had a booth at a community fair, like Maple Valley Days or Renton River Days, Ray would be there. And he would take the shift that nobody else wanted. You want him there in the morning early? He'd be there early in the morning. Stay into the evening, didn't matter what it was, Ray would be there. And so you could just always depend on him. And at our annual fundraiser, which was a fireworks stand, we always needed someone to work all night to be the night watchman, because we closed the stand and you couldn't make it secure, so somebody had to stay. Ray would always take that shift. He just did everything. So all that to say, Ray's passing is leaving a big hole in our club, which I'm not sure will ever be filled by any other single person. And besides that, we've got these big shoes that, we'll see if somebody can step into them. But when it all came down to the end of it, Ray was just a good friend. To work alongside, to have a conversation with, to enjoy square dancing with. I'm going to miss him, and I know everybody here who's a Jet Stepper feels the same way. So, thanks.
Very good, Ed.
Santa to get through this. My name is Cherise, and I've actually got notes. I wasn't going to make notes, but I'm back there making notes, but I didn't want to forget anything. You did an elegant talk. It was hard to follow someone who talks so well when you're doing it. My name is Cherise, and I work at the Des Moines Senior Center, Activity Center. I've been there for 15 years, a part of this community longer than that. I've known Ray probably about 20 of those years, with the 15 at the center. I did this board. I asked Renee if I could do a board because he did so many things at the center, knowing that his square dancing and all in his Navy career, because he did talk a lot about all of that. But having someone at the center was basically family when you saw them Monday through Thursday for lunch every day. And that was 15 years of seeing Ray at lunch. And as you see here, when I went through the pictures, I couldn't find a picture where he didn't have a hat on. So one of my favorite, or t-shirts with the craziest sayings on them when he came back from a trip. And we just get a kick out of that. So with the hats, obviously, especially with St. Patrick's Day and Valentine's Day and Halloween, he always had some kind of crazy hat. And I couldn't find the picture where it's one of my favorites, which I think you said you found, was his beard was half orange and half green. He loved doing all the different things and celebrating. With all those events, I must say, him bringing joy to everyone with dressing up, and we'd have different kind of festivals and activities. He always brought such joy for everyone to see him because he would participate with us doing all of those activities. So Reese's are on the table, and we know that's his favorite chocolate. And I always knew that he was around, and he would sneak into the building or not. My office is right when you walk in, and there'd be a couple on my desk. So I always knew he was somewhere in the building because I had chocolate. So the biggest part of what Ray did, I shouldn't say biggest part because everything was so huge, was Santa. So he was Santa for 20 plus years with us at the center. The last year we got to have him in the building and sitting by our fireplace that I would have all decorated with a tree, which he loved. We had kids that did Santa's breakfast. And so it was a big part of this community of doing all that. He loved all the kids with that event. And so my granddaughter was 6 weeks old when he did a picture with her 2019. And that was the last time. But the last couple years we had Zoom Santa, and bless his heart, he sat by the fireplace, nobody else around but a camera, and they signed up to have it, and he did, I think, 10 or 12 kids the last couple years on Zoom. So he was still doing Santa, no matter if we could be in person or not. So he was still, and that was just a joy. I went to the house to see, and this was sitting on a table when I walked in, and I went, okay, mine. So it'll sit there at the center and represent him. Let me make sure I don't forget anything. Traveling, loved all that, and volunteering. I guess we loved him. The center loved him. He's represented about 10 folks here from the center. I don't know that we can say enough that he was just there. No matter what you asked of him to do, he would always volunteer. He cleaned tables. Well, I should say he set up tables and did everything. He would clean tables. He and David, which are on here, he did Wii bowling, and I thought Santa did something. All right, hello. So we had a Wii competition, and it was the craziest thing ever, but we went with all the different centers and had a competition. I think we actually won 1 or 2 years, didn't we? Yeah, I think we won 1 or 2 years in that. I should say, because I have to glance at the board, he brought flowers all the time. It was one of his favorite things to do, is cut something out of his garden on the side of the house and in front and in back, and bring us flowers. And spices. Man, there were spices that sat on his table that didn't sit on anyone else's table. Now, mind you, I'm not a big spice person, so he would love to tease me about, are you going to take a bite of this? And I'd go, not on your life. Because then he would get in his special packet, and I'd go, then there's really no chance that I'm going to do that. I don't want to forget it. He was such a ladies' man. That was part of the square dancing that I thought was really funny, because he loved dressing up no matter what. So he had on this pink shirt. He was like strutting around going, can't outdo me with my hat, and I will make sure you have all those pictures because they're really cool. He helped us with Meals on Wheels. Something that the center does is Meals on Wheels, when we're serving meals at home. He would always dress up like Santa that week before, or week of Christmas, and go visit all the homeless that we delivered our food to. And here's pictures of some of the kids. And here is a picture, if no one has looked at the boards, there's a couple of them about in front of his house, because that was one of the best things too, was his in front of the house and going on trips with us. I should say our last event with him was last April. I asked him if he would put his Santa suit back on one more time for us, and not that I knew one more time, but for us at the center. And April Fools, I had him pass out candy canes in the Santa suit. So we've been doing drive-through for the last year, and so he stood out in front of the building, and everyone who drove by and got a lunch, he handed him a candy cane in his suit. And it is the best things we ever did. And he giggled and smiled the whole time. Everyone kept looking at him like, I am so confused. But we liked that part about being confused. So, in any of that, that's just kind of what I have to say, and we'll miss him greatly at the center. So, thank you for having me come up.
So many things I could say about my dad. One, thank you so much for all coming. It means a lot to me and my dad, who is here with us all. And, you know, I had to laugh out loud when your phone rang because, and don't feel bad about it. I'm sure he made it ring on purpose because his phone always rang at the most inopportune times and extremely loud. So it was kind of funny. So I found humor in that. I was blessed to, my dad helped me in my life so much, in so many ways. And I was blessed before COVID hit to go on an amazing luxury cruise with him. All expenses paid by Dad, of course. And, you know, I treasured it then, but even now, with him gone, I treasure it even more. And as you can see, he loved to travel, and I was blessed to be able to, for many of you who don't know, he was diagnosed, the reason he died at 81 years old is because in April he was diagnosed with severe heart failure. His heart for the last 8 months was only working at 15% capacity, and he was given less than a year to live. So at that moment, me as his daughter fell apart severely, but with the great support of friends and stuff, I survived and made it through. And I've been blessed to be here to take care of him for that last 8 months and get that treasured time with him. So there's a couple things that came to me. There's a poem that came, and it talks about my dad, and it says, "Do not stand at my grave and weep, because I am not there. I don't sleep. I'm 1,000 winds that blow. I am the softly falling snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of beautiful birds in circled flight. I am the stars that shine at night. I am the flowers that bloom. I am in a quiet room. I am the birds that sing. I am each lovely thing. Do not stand at my grave and cry, because I am not there. I did not die. He remains in our hearts forever." A memory on Facebook recently reminded me that although things happen in life that bring great sadness and grief, that can literally rock us, and I have definitely been rocked. It's okay to feel it all, but then, as my dad would say, and want all of us to do, every single one of you in life, we need to pick ourselves up and look at all the wonder and beauty around us, as well as all the positive life is still giving us, and continue to move forward. I know deep in my heart, into my toes, and around the world, that this is what my dad wanted for me, his grandkids, his friends, and all of those he loved and whose lives he touched. When you think of my dad, your grandfather, your friend, and whatever else he may have been to you, remember that his last day on earth was a perfect one for him, because he was Santa and he spent it with family and friends. And he wants to see from above that we all continue to live our life to the fullest, travel, live, love, laugh. Doing all of that will put the biggest smile on his face and continue to honor him to infinity. Dad, I love you, bunches and bunches.
Your Honor, to have
Yes.
the military guard.
On behalf of the United States President of the United States Navy, the grateful nation, please accept this symbol of appreciation of your loved one's honorable and faithful service.
Oh my goodness, how do you follow that? Thank you so much. I think we're all very blessed with that whole process. So we appreciate your service, gentlemen. Thank you so much. I think there's still time for maybe just a few remembrances in the room. Don't feel like you have to come up here, but if you feel like you just want to share a little bit about Ray and a special memory or something about his life that you would like to share with everybody, it would bless Ray Lynn and the family as well. Don't feel obligated, but now's the time to share something if you will. Yeah, feel free to stand up, share.
Well, I'll say something about Ray. You know, I heard his stories and knew what he was doing for the senior center, but he's the most even-tempered guy I ever met. You know, he never got mad at anybody or anything, and he always kind of had a smile on his face, and you know, he was kind of a joy to be around. Was he a Christian? Did he go to the church? Belong to the church?
No, I know
He had faith, but
Yeah.
he didn't go to church.
Yeah, he trusted in the Lord, but he wasn't a churchgoer. But that's not what gets you to heaven. So
Yeah.
we know what gets you to heaven, right? Faith in Jesus Christ, putting your faith in Him. So yeah.
All right, I just want to stand up on behalf of Raylan and, you know, all the family. So I'm Raylan's sister-in-law, and we were just so blessed to have Grandpa Ray part of our family and our Christmases, and he was, of course, Santa for all our kids, and, you know, for Kaylin and Dean and Danielle, just all of us. And we had such wonderful celebrations, and we were blessed, all of us, to spend that Christmas night with him. And he's amazing because we all like to play games. And Grandpa Ray, or if you want to call him Santa, he had several names, but he was so alert. And that night we played games, and his mind, he was just so active with his thinking. Like, we were missing some of the questions, but he knew them. He was just so alert. It was so fun. And as he was getting ready to leave, though, he did lean over and he asked if we will continue to keep him in prayer. And I was like, yes, Grandpa. We still call him Grandpa Santa. I said, I will for sure be praying for you. But I had no idea that was his last night, and so grateful that we were able to spend that special night with him, and of course with Raylan. And he will always mean so much to our family. He's in our albums, and just love him so much, and love you, Raylan.
One other thing to say, I didn't see him for quite a while, and then he showed up at Wesley, and he was in a motorized wheelchair. And he came to the meals, and we talked to him, and he talked to everybody else. He just fit right in, and with the rest of the people there, you know, he sat with them, but he never got out of that wheelchair.
thank you guys again for coming today. I'm just going to close this in prayer. Feel free to just hang out a little bit. There's goodies over there. There's cookies, coffee. Feel free to just hang out and share any special memories with Ray Lynn and the family if you'd like to as well. But again, thank you so much for being here and just celebrating the life of a man who was very loved, very active from what I could see all his life. You know, jealous of his dancing skills, as you talked about. You know, all the way to the end. I mean, he was very active and participated in things, very obviously active in the community, loving people and loving those around him. So, again, thank you so much for being here. Let's just close in prayer and then just enjoy some fellowship. Jesus, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for the honoring that we were able to do for Ray today. Thank you for the many years of service in the military. Lord, that is about Ray, a man of service. He obviously served so many people around him. He served this community, the senior center. He served wherever he went. And God, what a blessing. We thank you for him. We thank you for his life. We thank you, Lord, that he is with you in heaven. And we just ask, God, that you bless Ray Lynn and the family, particularly during this time. Just continue to wrap your arms around them. Let them know you're near. Let them know you love them. We just thank you for today. We give you all the praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for being here.